No, I'm all about Trump, so.
Yeah.
If we get Joe Biden, then we're pretty much screwed.
If Biden wins, man, there's no telling.
I think he's just a puppet and somebody else is pulling his strings.
Who's pulling the strings?
I think there's 13 families that make up the laws in the world.
Which 13 families?
I don't know.
On first glance, this dirt track on the outskirts of Dallas is an emblem of Texas's solid Republican status. But if you dig a little deeper, there's a recognition here that this vast state is on the cusp of seismic political change. And most people here don't like it.
You never voted before?
Never have, no.
Why not?
Because I already know Texas is a Republican state. Right. There's no reason for me to vote. There is this year because I'm gonna show me and a lot of other people are gonna show why we want Trump as president.
Did you vote in 2016?
No, I didn't.
we didn't.
That's what I'm saying, but I am voting this year. Now I feel like I gotta do my part, and it's Trump 2020.
For the first time in a generation, Texas is in play for Democrats, with polling indicating that Joe Biden trails Donald Trump by just 1%. If Trump loses here, his campaign is effectively over. This progressive shift is down to the state's rapidly evolving demographics, with Hispanic Americans set to be the majority here by 2022. The 24th Congressional District in Dallas is a symbol for that. A traditionally Republican suburb, the Democrats now have a real chance of winning here. It's areas like this which have become one of the main focuses of the election.
If he ever got to run this country, our suburbs would be gone, and you would see problems like you've never seen.
He wouldn't know a suburb unless he took a wrong turn.
Candace Valenzuela is a progressive candidate vying to become the first Afro-Latina elected to Congress. She's lived here most of her life and has seen the politics of this neighborhood change.
What we're seeing in this process is that it's becoming a lot more representative of the people that actually live here. As soon as Trump was elected, folks needed to feel as though they were doing everything they could to make sure that they saved their communities and this country.
Do you think that change is embodied by the person who's running for president on the Democratic ticket? Do you think Biden really captures the essence of what you're saying?
I don't think any one of us captures the essence of it. I think that it's something that's happening in aggregate.
How does that work as a message, though, to the people? If it's an aggregate message, but you've got one person on top of the ticket?
I think that in terms of what I'm doing with my campaign is I'm focusing on my community and what I can do for that community.
Candace has been forced to campaign from home due to health concerns for her family. But that hasn't stopped this race descending into a war of words.
Beth Van Dyne, who you are facing in this race, she calls you a radical. Do you see yourself as a radical?
Absolutely not. What I am is a mother who's fighting for the families of this district to have basics, a roof over their head, food on the table, a chance to see their families succeed because they have the health care they need. I don't think those are radical things. I think those are things that are inherently American.
Van Dyne is a former local mayor who has courted major controversy. In 2015, she falsely suggested that a newly built Islamic tribunal could lead to Sharia law.
We asked the members of the mosque, are you supportive of our American laws? Are you supportive in following our Texas state statutes?
We wanted to speak to Beth, but her campaign manager made it pretty clear she didn't want to defend her record in public.
This is Oliver from The Guardian calling you again. I think this is the second or third time I've got your voicemail now.
So instead, we went to meet the county Republican Party. Shari Stevens was out canvassing for Beth in some of the richest suburbs in the district.
This first one up here is 403 and this 401.
It's a nice neighborhood round here, right?
Yes, very nice. If there was an election today, would you vote for President Trump, Joe Biden, or are you undecided? Okay?
I used to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Did you?
Yeah.
What changed your mind?
I think Trump.
Some people are not comfortable with the changes happening here.
Have you seen the demographics change here a lot?
Yes, I have.
I mean, there's more sort of people from immigrant backgrounds coming
Exactly,
to this
exactly,
district.
yeah. In different neighborhoods that I grew up in. I was born and raised here, and then I left for 30 years. It wasn't there wasn't the Fort Worth that I grew up with. It was, let's put it this way, I don't go out at night, and I'm sure it's like that everywhere. You know, everyone had become cautious, especially since 9/11.
At a nearby college campus, progressive activists are trying to register younger Latina voters who are seen as the key to swinging this state. This is tough work in a pandemic, and Texas's antiquated voter registration system makes it even harder. But for lots of these first-time voters, Donald Trump's anti-immigrant policies has inspired them to sign up.
Kids are not supposed to be like in jail, you know? So I disagree with that, so. It breaks me. It's like hard.
It breaks you?
Yes, it breaks me.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Because my mom actually crossed the border.
You know, I know people who are immigrants, and like I wouldn't want to see my family or people that I know in that position.
Did it make you want to vote?
Yes.
Vote for Joe Biden?
Yes.
Do you think it might be an emotional experience going to cast that ballot for you?
Yes, very much.
Why is that?
Because, how do I explain it? It's like, I'm the first one. So it's just like, I can change something.
After hearing these younger voters' concerns about what was happening at the border, I felt like I had to go and see for myself. So I came south to the city of McAllen. Donald Trump promised the American public when he came to office that he was going to build hundreds of miles of border wall on the US southern border. And actually the administration has only delivered less than 20 miles of new wall in the past 3.5 years. What you're seeing here is the administration's attempt to rapidly construct as the election approaches, hoping, I guess, that it's going to appeal to the base. The Latino vote is not a monolith. In 2016, Donald Trump won 26% of their support, and polls are suggesting he might do even better this time around. And while this region is staunchly Democratic, Republicans are investing considerable resources behind a state house candidate called Dr. John Guerra.
Hey, how you guys doing? Great.
He's a local gynecologist, something he thinks gives him an advantage against the incumbent, who happens to be a lawyer.
In polls, it said that doctors are believed and followed 65% of the time versus lawyers, which are about 45% of the time. Okay?
People trust doctors over lawyers?
Yes, exactly.
What's that?
This is a laparoscopic instrument. We have this so that we can hand it to somebody.
Oh, I see. I'll give it a go. Here, Trump's immigration policies feel like they're connecting with some people. So you mentioned that your father was from Mexico and he came
born over there.
So do you have any sympathy for the people that are trying to get in now, trying to come in?
Not really. Not really, because all they want is the money and whatever they can get out of it.
In this neighborhood, there's little opposition to Trump's child separation policy.
A lot of these kids are coming in by themselves with no parents. So it's kind of hard to distinguish whether the child is, here by themselves. Is that really their real parent?
Did Trump separating desperate mothers and fathers from their children at the border, did that affect you in any way when you saw that happening?
Of course, you don't want to bring about families, okay? And all of the Border Patrol and everybody that was doing it, it affected them.
Like Mr. Guzman said, there was no way to identify if the child was really a daughter or son of the person that they were with.
So I watched that happen. I came to McAllen in 2018 and I sat in the federal court and watched a father beg a federal judge to be reunited with his child. So I think that what he's saying is inaccurate there.
I guess, it's unfortunate to be them, but some people do it the legal way. Some people are taking advantage of a loophole.
Trump's wall is beginning to have an irreversible effect on this land. The Ramirez family founded a chapel here almost 200 years ago, when this place granted safe haven to escaped enslaved people.
My great-great-grandfather is the one that built this church.
There are generations of family members buried here, and the wall is being built just a few feet away. The family chapel will be left in no man's land, legally in America, but only accessible through border control. What did you feel when you saw it for the first time?
We had hoped that they were just not going to build here. That somehow we were going to outrun the clock, to be honest with you. You're going to have concrete, and you're going to have ballards, and you're going to have border patrol. This is laying bare the land itself, but it's also exposing us to pain.
I remember growing up with my grandmother and my father and playing around, ringing the bell. He would pick me up where I would pull the cord down. Not too long ago, I brought my grandson here, and I picked him up, and he rang the bell. That's a legacy I want to leave my grandson.
We can't avoid the wall. It's there. It's always going to be a reminder of the person whose own ambition led to this wall being here.
Donald Trump hopes this wall will be one of his lasting legacies as president. And if he wins this election, that legacy will be enshrined. But this is a changing Texas. And if he loses here, his most famous construction project could become just an artifact from a bygone era.